Where's the intro? That's the wrong one.
And welcome to HSGameTime Live, Week 13, the CIF Southern Section Semifinals on Friday night. Which teams would punch their tickets to the championship games next Friday? And Chris, let's start in the Inland Division. The big game everyone was talking about, Vista Murrieta taking on Norco.
Vista Murrieta and Norco, of course, everyone knows the controversy surrounding the Gearhart family when they departed from Norco High School early in the year. And finally, the stars aligned, and it was a chance for a clash between Vista Murrieta and Norco. Of course, Vista Murrieta, the new home for Colton Gearhart. Let's roll out to Vista Murrieta and Norco at Norco High School. There's Colton Gearhart himself. Let's roll the highlights. He was in the zone, lining up before the game, minutes before kickoff. Norco, though, running the power run game early. Victor Viramontes, the 7-yard touchdown run, 7-0 lead for Norco, but that would not last long. Vista Murrieta came to play tonight. Gearhart lets it fly to Daryl Denby, 25-yard touchdown catch, 7-7 tie there. Then Gearhart, we know he can run the ball just like he can throw it. Power run game. Check this out, the WWE body slam on that tackle. They were looking to get a little piece of him. Colton Gearhart then to Colin Baker for the 10-yard touchdown catch, 14-7. Vista lead late in the first quarter. Daryl Denby bringing his A game tonight. You're going to hear his name a few times, this time on special teams, getting it done with the 60-yard touchdown on the punt return. 21-7 Vista Murrieta. Norco getting shocked on their home turf. Then Vista getting it done on defense as well, putting the swarm on Viramontes for the sack. Tito Feliciano had a fumble earlier in the game, but he would redeem himself here with the 10-yard touchdown run at 28-7 Vista Murrieta. And more from Vista Murrieta on defense. Mason Evans hits Viramontes, the ball falls loose. Huge loss for the Broncos. Then Tito Feliciano back to work. Once again, his second touchdown of the first half. 35-7 right before halftime. More Gearhart to Denby to begin the third quarter. Just like Montana to Rice, they had it working all night long. 60-yard touchdown, 42-7 at this point. Final score, 56-19 Broncos. We're going to hear from Colton Gearhart right after the game.
Of course, it's going to be a very emotional game, but just like I said, it was going to be another game, and we came out just as good as we always have, and we prepared in the week, and the result was great.
And the results don't lie. You're probably a little more fired up for this one, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course, there's a lot of flaring emotions, but I had to keep myself calm a little bit and just take it like another game.
It looks like it's going to be Centennial. What does that mean for you?
I mean, I'm just going to treat it like another game, prepare. Of course, I'm going to prepare a little harder because it's CIF, but we're going to do what we do during the week and get it done.
Pep Colton Gearhart was trying to act like it was any other game at first, but
Sure.
I knew it wasn't any other game for him, and definitely maybe his finest performance of the year given the circumstances.
You've got to assume he wanted to come out huge in this game.
I'm sure.
And kind of prove something to the Norco team. But you said, it was a big love fest after the game. He still
was.
knows all those guys, gets along with those guys, still friends.
Yeah, you were expecting maybe a little bit of chippiness. You saw that one big kind of body slam tackle, but that was about as rough as it got. After the game, it was all hugs and handshakes, hand pounds, just like one of the fellas once again. But it's not going to be hugs and handshakes next week when Vista Murrieta, Centennial, what do we call it? Part 4, Part 5?
Part 4,
it's
yeah.
up there.
4 in a row.
They travel to Huskytown, USA. The last two games have been at Vista Murrieta. This time they're going to have to travel over to Matt Loganville, as I like to call it. And
Is that what you call it?
It's going to be a showdown.
It's going to be a great game. Adam Drexler went to the Centennial Upland game tonight, has highlights. It was an incredible score, 86-56 the final score, the same exact score from the basketball. I know Jeff Prenti would like to know that. The same exact score from their basketball game tonight was the same score in the football game. Kind of bizarre. But Adam Drexler editing the highlights right now in our HSGameTime headquarters, so we'll get those highlights on the show as soon as possible. But now let's go to the Inland Division scoreboard, Mike. Let's go to the scoreboards and show you the two games from the Inland Division semifinals tonight. And of course, the Vista Murrieta big win against Norco, 56-19, the final score. So the Broncos are moving on, as is Centennial, 86-56 against Upland. Tons of records broken in this one. Trey Watson had over 500 yards at first estimates, and he could be approaching a Centennial career record and also a single game record. I think there was also maybe a total yards record broken as a team that was previously held by Happy Camp. Of course, EPJ's our stat guy, and I'm sure he'll dig through all the numbers to figure that one out. But a lot of records broken when you hang 86 points on the other team. So those are the two Inland Division scores. We come back here live in the studio now, and as Chris mentioned to it, Centennial taking on Vista Murrieta next Friday for the Inland Division Championship, the fourth year in a row that these two teams have met. So let's update our brackets. Let's roll that, Mike, the Inland Division bracket, just so you can see it. And seeing is believing, so we'll show you that, the matchup. So we've been following the brackets all throughout the playoffs, and here it is. Vista Murrieta, Centennial, at Centennial, Matt Loganville, USA, or whatever Chris called it in the Inland Division Championship. That will be next Friday. That will be a humongous game, and the winner of the Inland Division title likely going to a state bowl game, whether it will be the Open Division, Division I. We'll have to wait and see what else happens in the Pac-5 and some of these other schools, but Vista Murrieta and Centennial playing next Friday. And as we said, Adam Drexler editing the highlights right now from that game, and we'll get those on as soon as possible. All right, back here live in the studio. Now we'll go to the Central Division. We had Colony taking on Heritage in one of the games, and the other one was the Rancho Verde taking on Kaiser, a rematch of last year's championship game as the Cats beat the Mustangs to win the Central Division title. Could the Cats beat Rancho Verde in the semifinals this time around? Mike, let's roll those highlights from Kaiser High School. And our guy Javier Cabrera doing a great job as always, right, Ja? Quarterback Sharon Jones kicking with Cedric Peterson here for the short gain for the Mustangs. This was in the first quarter. Later, Jones hitting an open Peterson for the touchdown here. And Mustangs go on top of Kaiser, leading 7-zip at this point. Later in the first quarter, it's the Green-Eyed Dragon, Keyshawn Slaughter, running the ball for a big gain for the Rancho Verde. And then it's Jones. Hello, Jonesy. Finds Peterson here for another touchdown. Cedric, the touchdown maker. 14-0, the Rancho Verde against Kaiser. This was all still in the first quarter. Sharon Jones keeping the energy going on the sideline. He's always fired up. He wants to lead his team out of the wilderness. Well, if the wilderness is the semifinals, then he did just that tonight. Second quarter, quarterback Raymond Padilla running it for Kaiser. Big run here. He will be finally caught up to around the 20-yard line. And Kaiser would have to settle for a field goal attempt, and it is good. It's all good. Later in the second quarter, more from the Mustangs. Then the stable of great running backs, plenty of horsepower. Slaughter blowing through the field for a big gain here. Remember, it was 14-3 at this point. And then it's Jones finding Marcus Young for a touchdown, 21-3. The Rancho Verde on top of Kaiser in this one. Later in the second quarter, Padilla with the ball, running it for Kaiser. But the Mustangs strip the ball loose, and Rancho Verde recovers. That would lead to this. Young getting the ball here from Jones. He picks up a big chunk there. And then later in the second quarter, under pressure, Jones scrambling, buying time, floats this pass into the end zone for another touchdown, make it 28-3 Mustangs. Now, Padilla with the ball for Kaiser, trying to get something going, but the Mustangs come up with the interception there. Now it's Slaughter finding some space. Big run here for the Green-Eyed Dragon, and that would set up this. The Rancho Verde touchdown. They win 35-3.
So amazing. Like, you can't express how I feel right now. And we back at home, so I mean, right now, I'm kind of used to it because ever since I've been a freshman, we always CIF or we winning. So right now, the reaction is we got to go put in work, but at the same time, it's excitement because, I mean, everybody out here worked as hard as they can and just have fun, and we came out with a victory. Thank God.
So a big win from the Rancho Verde against Kaiser, 35-3 the final score. We heard from Sharon Jones. That's a huge win against the team that knocked them out of the championship game last year. The Mustangs had a chance to win it. They will be going back, and they will be taking on Heritage. The Patriots defeating Colony tonight, and we're going to get to those highlights in just a second, but we can tell you that the previous week, Colony defeated Riverside Poly, and a lot of people were saying that, hey, we're not giving Colony enough credit. Sure, they're a team that we don't normally cover. They're not in our coverage area from out of Ontario, but people said that we need to take notice of Colony because they're actually a really good team, and they beat Riverside Poly, which is a very good team, so that makes sense that Colony had some pretty good players, and they beat Riverside Poly by 10. So this week, could they do it against Heritage? Now, the Patriots, they've reached the CIF championship game before, but they've never won it. Last year, they lost to Kaiser in the semifinals. So Kaiser went through Heritage and the Rancho Verde en route to winning the Central Division championship game last season. So Kaiser was on a roll, going through some very good teams. Could Heritage do it this time around and knock off knock off Colony after Rancho Verde knocked off Kaiser? So we do have the Rancho Verde and Heritage final, and the Patriot highlights, I believe, are ready. So, Mike, whenever those Heritage Colony highlights are ready, go ahead and roll those, and we're going to ad-lib these because we'll see them together for the first time together. Here come the Patriots, all fired up for this one. H-Town. There's the real Coach Broach. He's up here on he's actually fallen down, but we'll make it work. Sione Taki, big tackle there for Heritage as I'm fixing Coach Broach's face on the background. Another big tackle from Taki. That's what I'm talking about. Then Colony would drive down the field. This is their opening drive of the game. So the Titans drive down the field, and they cap off their drive with this field goal. So Colony goes up by a score of 3-0 at this point. But Heritage answers. Brett Virgil 2.0. Big run here for Heritage, deep in Colony territory. And then later on that same drive, Lima Haihifo gets the call. Humbling all the way down to the doorstep. Really gets in, but no doubt about this one. It's Taki going in for the touchdown, and Heritage takes a 7-3 lead on Colony. More from Heritage now. They've got the ball. Virgil looking to float this pass, but Colony comes up with the interception around the Heritage 22-yard line. That would set up another Titan field goal. So it was a 7-6 ball game. Very close in the first half. Now we go back to Heritage on the attack. Lima Haihifo, big run there. And then later, more from Virgil. Just kind of squirts out of traffic here. Virgil can run. He can throw it, and he can run as well, showing off the legs against Colony in this one. Later on that same drive, it's Hifo getting the call right in front of the HSGameTime camera and in for the touchdown. And that will give Heritage the 14-6 lead on Colony. And now Heritage with the ball, and Virgil gets loose once again. Another big run from Virgil, only a sophomore. We'll be talking about this guy for years to come. Another big run to set up Heritage deep in Colony territory. Scrambling, and Virgil calls his own number and trots into the end zone. That made it 21-6. Heritage was on top at that point, and Patriots go on to win by a final score of 57-31. So once again, it's Heritage advancing to the CIF championship game. All right, let's go back here in the studio, and we'll actually show you the score. Let's go to the scoreboard now in the Central Division and show you those two scores from the semifinals tonight. We had Rancho Verde and Heritage both advancing. The Mustangs winning 35-3 against Kaiser. The Mustangs getting it done on offense and allowing just a single field goal to the Cats. And Heritage going on to win big, a shootout when this thing's all said and done. 57-31, the final score. All right, now let's go to the brackets for the Central Division, and we'll update those. If you've got your brackets out at home, we've been updating these throughout the playoffs. There it is, Rancho Verde against Heritage. And according to my math, because Heritage was home tonight and Rancho Verde was on the road, that would mean Rancho Verde would host the CIF championship game next Friday for the Central Division title. All right, back here live in the studio. Now we go to the Eastern Division. We've got San Gorgonio and Norte Vista highlights. Not ready yet, but we will have them. If not tonight, definitely for the Saturday show. We're going to get to those scores in just a moment. But we'll go to the other Eastern Division game right now. Moreno Valley taking on Citrus Hill. The upstart Vikings coming off wins against Carter and then Serrano to reach the Hawks in the semis. Meanwhile, the Hawks are the defending champions and going strong. Could they get past this upstart Moreno Valley team? All right, Mike, let's go ahead and roll that video. Citrus Hill hosting Moreno Valley. And when I rolled in, it was 33-zip. Citrus Hill was up. And look, they got the bling. I mean, when you play at Citrus Hill, you play for the ring. And they're showing it off. And it was a real who's who on the sideline at Citrus Hill. We'll show you in a second. Hollingsworth hooking up here with number 25, DeJuan Dantzler for the touchdown. And Citrus Hill just pulling away this one. Hey, that's the boss, Akili Ross from Riverside Poly, checking out the game. He was wishing his Poly Bears were playing tonight. Later, it's Hollingsworth dumping it off to number 26, Devin Floyd, for the nice pickup here. And then it's Hollingsworth to Floyd once again. And he's a big pickup as Citrus Hill was driving down the field against Moreno Valley. This time, Hollingsworth calls his own number right up the gut, takes a hit, but flies into the end zone. And it was all Citrus Hill as they were pulling away time in the second half against Moreno Valley. The Vikings trying to show some signs of life in the second half, but that Citrus Hill defense would not allow Moreno Valley back in to this one. And here's Hollingsworth airing it out to number 17, Justin Clarkston. Comes down with a great catch to haul that one in, and that would set up another Citrus Hill touchdown. Hollingsworth calling his own number, rolls out and rolls in as Citrus Hill goes on to win by a final score of, I've got it right here in front of me, 60-10. And Kyle Glazer was at the game. We come back here live in the studio. And Citrus Hill looking very impressive against Moreno Valley tonight.
Absolutely, Pap. I think you could argue this was the most complete game the Hawks have played all year. They were up 33-0 at halftime. It was 53-3 later in the game. Just an all-around dominant performance by the Hawks. You know, we talked about it before.
They're great most of the time, but especially at home. 20 consecutive home victories for them dating back to 2010. They've won 9 of their last 10 playoff games. You know, Citrus Hill, this is a young Citrus Hill team. They have a lot of new guys that are seeing their first significant action, and they're doing what Citrus Hill does. This is now their 4th championship game appearance in the last 7 years, and they've won the previous 3.
Now, the previous week, I fell in love with that Moreno Valley defense after what they did to Serrano. I thought, wow, if the Vikings can do that against Serrano, maybe they can do it against Citrus Hill. But it seems like the Hawks are just, I mean, they play their best in the playoffs, and it seems like they're clicking right now.
They do, and you know, one thing, the Citrus Hill passing game has been great all year. Brett Hollingsworth has been an incredible quarterback, one of the best in the area. He had 502 total yards and 8 touchdowns tonight. 8 total touchdowns, set the school record for passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 350 passing yards and 5 total touchdowns in the first half. That's why Citrus Hill was up. He did a great job. His O-line gave him plenty of time. His receivers, Jacoby Herring was blowing past the secondary. Clarkston, who's been out for a little bit, he's back healthy now. He's another huge addition on the outside. Citrus Hill, I mean, they were firing on all cylinders, offensively, defensively, not a lot of penalties, no turnovers. I mean, this was a very, very good game by a very, very good team. And look, it's the playoffs. This is when Citrus Hill thrives. We see it time and time again. And, you know, they're going to go in next week, you know, arguably playing the best football they've played. When you look at, you know, 61-7 over Ramona. The Apple Valley game, obviously, you know, they had to come back, but, you know, there were tough conditions. It was wet. It was cold on the road. And then for them to come into the semifinals and just destroy a Moreno Valley team that, you know, isn't half bad. I mean, they're peaking at the right time.
All right, sit tight. Mike, let's go to those Eastern Division scores right now. I'll show you the two scores from the semifinals tonight. As we mentioned, we will have highlights of this game. San Gorgonio and Norte Vista, the Brave, pulling off, I guess you'd call the upset because San G was undefeated and the top seed in this division. Norte Vista winning by 1, and we will have highlights. And Citrus Hill winning 60-10. So let's go to the Eastern Division brackets now and go ahead and call that up, and we'll show you. It's going to be Citrus Hill playing on the road, from what I understand, at Norte Vista because of the coin flip. So, Kyle, you see the matchup right here, Eastern Division Championship game, Novi hosting Citrus Hill. First impressions of this matchup?
Well, I think you're going to see two contrasting styles. Norte Vista is a double wing offense that really runs the ball almost exclusively. Citrus Hill, on the other hand, really airs it out with multiple athletes on the outside. So it's going to be an interesting game, contrasting styles, seeing, can Novi keep the ball away from Citrus Hill? We know that offense can score. These are two very good teams, very physical teams that have Division I talent, which you don't always see at the Eastern Division level. And Eric Zomalt and Ken Batdorf are two of the most successful coaches in the Inland Empire. I think this will probably be a close game. I really would be surprised. Anything's possible. I would be surprised if it's a blowout in either direction. But I think you're seeing two excellent teams, and it should be a good final.
All right, we got Dennis Pope. I know he's itching to talk about this game. We'll get to you in just a little bit. Just sit tight. And as we mentioned, we will have video highlights of San G and Novi. If not tonight, check back on Saturday. All right, thank you very much, Kyle. We appreciate it. We were going to go to Jurupa Hills. We have video of that one. That was one of Adam Drexler's games. He's still editing them. So, Mike, we're going to skip Jurupa Hills, and let's just go to the East Valley Division scoreboard, the scores now, and show you the two games from the East Valley Division on Friday night. Jurupa Hills was a winner against Western Christian, 40-39. The Spartans getting the game-winning touchdown pass with 7 seconds left. The extra point was the difference as Jurupa Hills is moving on to the championship game, 40-39. And St. Margaret's defeating Big Bear 35-28 in overtime. So it will be St. Margaret's taking on Jurupa Hills. Mike, if we can punch up that East Valley Division bracket now and show people the matchup. And Jurupa Hills and St. Margaret's. St. Margaret's was home tonight. Jurupa Hills was on the road. So according to my math, Jurupa Hills would be hosting St. Margaret's next Friday for the East Valley Division Championship. All right, back here live in the studio, we're going to recycle some of these highlights and scores. We've got Dennis Pope, Jeff Parenti standing by to break down their games, and we're hoping to add some more video and highlights coming your way. But first, let's take a look at the HS Game Time Top 10 as we headed into this week and show you how our Top 10 looked. Go ahead and punch that up, and Vista Murrieta and Centennial number 1 and 2, as you might expect. They have been all season long. And then Norco was number 3. Maybe Rancho, Verde, and Heritage leapfrogged them. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that kind of pans out. Citrus Hill could be moving on up as well at number 9. And San G was at 7 before the loss. All right, back here live in the studio. Before we get back to more scores and highlights, just a quick reminder, every Tuesday and Thursday, I join Stu Tiffany and Jimbo on KCal Rocks 96.7 FM, and we talk high school football and local sports headlines and national sports headlines as well. And Jimbo's been giving his unique take on high school football all season long here on HS Game Time. And here's Jimbo checking in with another story from his high school football days. All right, Jimbo, you're very excited.
Yes.
We just had Thanksgiving. So much to be thankful for, right?
Absolutely, Pep. There's 3 things that I think everybody should be thankful for because of football. Number 1, the friendships that you make through football, they're going to last a lifetime. I still call the guys that I played football with. We share the same stories from decades ago, and we're going to be doing this till we take it to the grave. So much fun. The friendships. And how about the family time? Man, a family that goes out rooting for the same football team, that beautiful bond that a family has, you got to be thankful for that. And probably the last thing, well, it basically gets ugly fat guy's girlfriend. So that's something you got to be thankful for. Otherwise, these big pieces of meat would just be wandering around saying, "Who wants to be my girlfriend?" Nobody would want to be their girlfriend if they couldn't play football. So that's the 3 things that football creates for everybody to be thankful for.
All right, welcome back to HS Game Time Live, and Chris is back in with, as we go down the Inland Division, I got the Centennial Upland right here, so that's ready to go, but let's start with the big game.
Plenty of offense in both games tonight. Not quite the shootout at Norco. and Vista Murrieta that we had from Centennial, but still, nonetheless, plenty of points from the Broncos. Colton Gearhart and company, we knew they would be fired up because the Gearhart family departure early in the school year. Plenty of chatter as the stars aligned and the chance became a reality. The chance for Vista Murrieta and Norco to collide at Norco, nonetheless. Let's roll out to Norco High School. Colton Gearhart in the zone before the game. You knew this game had to mean a lot to him. But Norco would be the ones that would get on the board first. Victor Viramontes, the 7-yard touchdown run, 7-0 lead early in the game for Norco. But that would be about it from Norco. Gearhart lets it fly to Daryl Denby for the 7-7 tie, the 25-yard score. More from Mr. Gearhart. This time on the power run, we know he can rack up the yards on the ground. He would get the body slam WWE style tackle there. A little bit of rough play, but not too much tonight. Then Colton Gearhart finishing the job to pass to Colin Baker for the 10-yard touchdown score. 14-7 at that point. More from the Broncos. Daryl Denby bringing his A game tonight. This time on special teams, getting the job done. 60 yards on the punt return. 21-7, all Broncos in the first quarter. Vista Murrieta getting it done on D as well. The sack on Viramontes. Not a lot of maneuvering for him in the run game after that first drive. Then Tito Feliciano getting it done. 10-yard touchdown run, 28-7. Or Tito Felicino, as they were calling him on the PA microphone tonight. Close enough. Mason Evans getting it done for the Vista D, knocking the ball from Viramontes' hands for a huge loss. Tito Feliciano back with the run game once again. He's been doing this all season long. 12-yard touchdown that time. Then 35-7 at halftime. How about that? More from Gearhart to his pal Denby. The Montana to Rice connection tonight. 60-yard touchdown. 42-7. Early third quarter. That would be about it. 56-19 the final. Let's hear from Colton Gearhart. He was very relieved but fired up after the game.
Of course, it's going to be a very emotional game, but just like I said, it was going to be another game, and we came out just as good as we always have, and we prepared in the week, and the result was great.
And the results don't lie. You're probably a little more fired up for this one, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course, there's a lot of flaring emotions, but I had to keep myself calm a little bit and just take it like another game.
They drove. It looks like it's going to be Centennial. What does that mean for you?
I mean, I'm just going to treat it like another game, prepare. Of course, I'm going to prepare a little harder because it's CIF, but we're going to do what we do during the week and get it done.
Pep Colton Gearhart at first trying to act like it was any other game, but got him to break a little bit there. Clearly, he had to kind of keep his emotions in check, keep his composure tonight. I'm sure if he could have dreamt it up just exactly how it went, that would be pretty much picture perfect.
Yeah, they pretty much had their way on Norco's field. And you know, the Cougars, they'd been a hot team. They've been playing very well in recent weeks. And a lot of people said, hey, they've actually got a chance to beat Vista Murrieta, who had been on a roll. And a lot of people were just assuming they would play Centennial for the title. I think our esteemed leader, David Zink, had Norco reaching the finals.
Only guy to go Norco in this round. Came up a little short. He is the defending champ on You Pick 'em, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You know, he's the only guy that can go 6-9 one week and then 15-0.
I think he's gone undefeated in the Pick 'em contest twice this year. Yeah. So.
But you don't win it with 2 weeks alone. It's really a marathon, not a race. Norco was looking impressive on that first drive. We saw they had a very impressive W against Cucamonga last week.
Yep.
They were powering down the field with that run game, but I think you just got to mix it up a little bit more with the passing game when you're dealing with a defense that is as dominant as the Broncos. And the Broncos figured out the Norco playbook quite quickly after about one drive's worth, and that was pretty much all they had. They let up on the gas a little bit on defense to come out in the third quarter, as probably, you know, once it's 35-7, you can see the kids letting up on the gas a little bit. But destiny would provide it. I'm going to quote. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to not name names, but I did have a member of the Vista Murrieta sideline say that people ask why they don't schedule Centennial during the year, and they say it's because we know we're going to play them in the CIF championship game. I'm not going to name names. It was,
but it makes sense. You know what I mean? I mean, in recent years, it's been those two schools.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's what, 4 times in a row?
This will be the 4th year in a row. Those two schools.
Death?
I think it's actually 5 in a row for Vista Murrieta, but going head to head with Centennial 4 in a row.
It goes death, taxes, and a Vista Centennial CIF final. That's the new policy to live by.
All right, thank you, Chris. That was one half of the Inland Division semifinals. In the other half, it was Centennial taking on Upland, and it was a very special night at Upland High School as members of the Santiago football team were also on hand. They were raising money and praying and lending their support for Jordan Walker, who is still in the hospital with a spine and neck injury. And Mike, I believe we do have head coach Jeff Steinberg. Let's go ahead and roll that, and then we'll go to the highlights afterwards. Steinberg talking about what was going on at Upland High School tonight. We will hear from Coach Steinberg in the Saturday scouting report tomorrow on HSGameTime, as well as the Monday morning pep rally. So we'll have more on the Santiago football team and Jeff Steinberg. But for now, let's go to the highlights because we do have a little bit more video from the situation at Upland High School. So Mike, let's go ahead and roll that video. The Centennial taking on Upland. And as we mentioned, number 55 for Jordan Walker, they were raising money. It was great to see the Santiago football family there at the game, along with Upland and Centennial, the 3 football teams coming together for the joint cause. We're just praying and wishing the best for Jordan Walker from Santiago High School, the linebacker who was injured the previous week against Upland. Now to the highlights, and Robert Weber fumbling there. Upland's Cameron Powell scoops it up and runs it back. And the Scots take a 7-zip lead, but that was just the very beginning of a lot of points scored in this game. Later in the first quarter, it's beats by Trey Watson, 20 yards for the touchdown. That ties the game at 7 apiece. Then later they give Trey Watson a quick breather, and it's J.J. Taylor. Hey, it's J.J., get to know me. 47 yards, and Centennial goes up 13-7. Still in the opening frame, Upland QB Tyler Helinski to Malik Yoakum, 14-13 now. And then it's beats by Trey in for another score, 20-14 after the first quarter. So now we go to the second quarter. Trey Watson had a record-setting night. We believe he became the single season and probably single game record holder for Centennial. 92 yards on that run. Yeah, Drex even wrote in the notes, broke Centennial single season rushing mark on that play. So there you go, 27-14, but Upland not out of this one. Helinski, 70 yards to Marquise Wimberly. That makes it 27-21. And then it's ya boy Webb. 47 yards to Grayson Bankhead, who does the rest here. The 2-point conversion was good, and it made it 35-21 Centennial. Now it's ya boy Webb calling his own number. Robert Weber, 72 yards on this touchdown run. And Centennial goes up by 20, 41-21. Still in the second quarter, Helinski keeping Upland in this thing. 14 yards to Trevor Wright. All right. 41-28. But still in the second quarter, there was a lot of scoring, we told you. Weber to Beware. Barry Ware down the sideline he goes. 49-28 at that point. Centennial was in the lead. They go on to win by a final score of 86-56. And Mike, let's go ahead and go to the Inland Division scores, because sometimes you just got to see it to believe it. See the numbers on the screen, because it was a crazy game, 86-56. So let's go to the Inland Division scoreboard, and there it is. There's one half, 56-19. Vista Murrieta a winner. And in the other half, it was Centennial and Upland. And the Huskies win by 30, posting 86 on Upland, 86-56. Now, if we go straight to the Inland Division bracket now, and we can show you that it will be Centennial and Vista Murrieta for the 4th year in a row. Broncos and Huskies. This time around, though, the game will be played at Centennial High School. So the Huskies will have home field advantage as they take on Vista Murrieta once again for the Inland Division Championship game. Now joining us, Jeff Parenti. Jeff, it's First time all season. Where have you been? Down in the Southwest.
South County, yeah.
Yeah, down in the Southwest. So Vista Murrieta defeats Norco, and they looked very impressive in the process, right? Talk about what they were able to do against Norco tonight.
Well, the thing that Vista does to people is Vista attacks people from all phases. They had a punt return, third punt return in 2 weeks from Daryl Denby. They had another kickoff return from Kwesi Mashak. And then Daryl Denby, of course, was Colton Gerhardt's favorite target tonight.
Yeah.
And he didn't even run the ball. He usually runs the ball, Gerhardt, and he went to the air tonight and he found Denby.
That must feel good. He's always wanted to prove he was a great thrower, and he gets to throw at his old stomping grounds at Norco High School.
Well, the interesting thing is when these two teams played last year, he had 2 touchdown passes and only ran in a 2-point conversion. So I guess he throws well when he's at Norco, right?
Yeah.
No,
he
brings
out the best in him.
He looked good. He had a couple balls dropped and a couple balls that were just almost there. So he was pretty locked in throwing the ball tonight.
So Vista Murrieta scores 56 on Norco. They hold the Cougars to just 19 points. The Cougars have been playing at a very high level. And then they also get it on special teams. I mean, at this point, is there a weakness on this team? Not really?
Not really. I didn't see the loss they had to Cathedral Catholic. And at that point, they had offensive lineman who got hurt, I think, against Ukaipa the week before. Mm-hmm. And then they had another offensive lineman that went down at Cathedral Catholic. And so they were scrambling on the offensive line, and so they've been mixing and matching on the offensive line for the first probably half of the season, and that had a lot to do with it because they didn't run the ball very well and they tried to throw it, and so. But right now, they're clicking on all 3 cylinders.
And let me ask Mike real quick. Mike, do we have that 2012 Inland Division Championship game video tonight? Okay, is Javier going to get that? Okay, we'll keep Jeff here for a second because we've got video of last year's game because it seems like every time Vista Murrieta and Centennial get together, it's always a close game. Last year it was a 2-point, well, it came down to a 2-point conversion. I don't think you've seen Centennial this season,
Actually,
right?
I did. I saw him last week in the mud at Chaparral.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And the thing that was interesting to me, and it may have been the conditions, was that I expected actually Centennial to play faster than they did because Vista Murrieta plays faster than anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're lining up, waiting for the guys to move the sticks, for the next.
So by the time
down.
You're looking down to jot down a note or whatever, they're already snapping the ball.
Oh yeah, they've already handed the ball off. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Keeping stats is
So what about
challenge?
What about first impression? So you saw Centennial, last Friday. You saw Vista Murrieta tonight. I mean, can you compare the two? Is it apples and oranges? I mean, Centennial obviously scores a lot. Vista Murrieta maybe more balanced. Is that fair to say because they do so well on defense?
I don't know enough about Centennial, especially having seen them in those conditions where basically Chaparral packed the box and said, "You're not going to beat us on the ground."
Yeah. And
then the footing was terrible. Watson didn't do anything in that game because they couldn't run. So Logan said, "Well, we get a dry ball on first down. Let's throw it on first down." And that's what they did.
Good strategy.
They used the boundaries, and of course Ware had 225 yards and. He had a big game and then decided to decommit from UCLA.
Yeah, that's what's so scary about Centennial. It's like, okay, fine. If you don't want us to run the ball, we'll just throw it on you. We could do both.
Oh, and Weber's unbelievable. I mean, in those conditions, he was pinpoint. I mean, he had maybe 3 drops in that game, and I think his official totals were 472 yards and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, in those conditions.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I guess they were saving up Trey Watson for tonight because he had, I think, over 500 yards, what we were hearing. I'm sure EPJ is still crunching those numbers, but over 500 yards. But, Mike, if you have the last year's Inland Division Championship, let's go ahead and just roll that video, kind of refresh people's memory. So it was 30-22. Vista Murrieta was trailing in this one when Sua Cravens goes in for the touchdown. So that made it 30-28 with about 1:18, I believe, left in the game. And Vista Murrieta elected to go for the 2-point conversion, obviously, because they were going for the tie. They were trailing 30-28. And the video's hiccuping just a little bit. But so they scored the 2-point conversion. I'm sorry, they scored to set up the 2-point conversion. Nick Stevens tried to go for Sua in the end zone, but break it up. And that's how Centennial won 30-28, the final score. Do you have a history? They have a history of playing some great games as well. I mean, neither team can really pull away from the other. It was in the pouring rain as well,
yeah.
as you can see. And, of course, they were going to Sua. I think the whole stadium knew they were going to Sua Cravens. But the Centennial was able to break that thing up, and they held on for the victory 30-28. So let's come back here live in the studio, Mike. And so Centennial has the home field advantage this time, and it won't be at like Chaparral where it's mud. It's artificial turf at Centennial.
Yeah.
Maybe that plays in their favor, being at home, being on turf where they can play fast.
I don't know. I mean, Vista's played on turf all year. Vista plays on turf. They played on turf tonight. Beautiful field at Norco. And they had Starbucks in the press box, so I'm rooting for them to move the game to Norco. Yeah. Starbucks in the press box, man.
Adam Drexler, who usually shoots a lot of our Norco games, says, you can always send me back to Norco. They have food in the press box and drinks for the media, and so they treat you right over there.
Yeah, it's great. Those kind of conditions, I mean, hopefully it doesn't rain, take the weather out of it and let these two teams just put on a show. Because they both, I mean, what Centennial did tonight, oh my goodness, 86 points.
86-56. Just seeing that score, what's kind of your takeaway from that?
I mean, the challenge for Vista is how do you stop Centennial? I mean, we saw a little bit of Shap doing it, but just because the conditions kind of took the run game out of it, but Shap couldn't do anything on offense. I mean, Vista has been beating people from like we talked about at the beginning, from with all three phases.
Yeah.
Getting kickoff returns with Kwesi Mashak, getting pick sixes from Mashak and Brandon Worthy, getting punt returns from Denby, and now they're opening up the passing game, and of course then they can run it with Feliciano and Colton if he keeps it.
They do it all.
Yeah.
They seriously do it all.
Yeah.
So. Vista Murrieta against Centennial next Friday for the Inland Division Championship. And once again, Centennial will be home as they host the Broncos. Jeff, appreciate it. Thank you very much for finally stopping in here. You're always so far away down there in the South County.
It was a pleasure. It's really not that far, Pep.
Well, you're always invited.
You should bring the studio down to the South County version.
You know what? Last year we did the last show from Vista Murrieta, but it's at Centennial now, which is a little closer to our PE headquarters.
Do a basketball show down there when Southwestern League gets rolling.
We should.
Yeah.
That's your meat and potatoes right there,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Southwestern
yes,
League basketball.
Yes, sir.
Which you were at basketball today?
I stopped by the tip-off at the Empire at Centennial to see the opener today. Great Oak. 33-2 run through the middle of
against who?
Against L.A. Dorsey.
Oh wow!
Yeah, third quarter and the fourth quarter, 31-28, and they ended up winning. Oh goodness, 84-40.
Wow, blew that thing wide open.
Yeah. So that's the Great Oak that we kind of expected. They played Etiwanda. We're kind of far afield here, but they played Etiwanda, 61-47. On Thursday or on Wednesday, which is not a bad loss against Etiwanda.
Yeah, that's a good team.
Yeah.
All right, basketball talk on HSGameTime Live. Maybe we should start our own basketball show. Maybe if we get enough people writing in or calling in and saying, hey, we need more basketball highlights. Maybe
really.
Maybe we do a live basketball show.
Let us know.
As well. All right, thank you, Jeff. Mike, let's go to the Central Division now, that Rancho Verde against Kaiser game. Let's go to those highlights as we tour the Central Division semifinals tonight. Here come the Mustangs playing on the road at Kaiser High School. And Sharon Jones to Cedric Peterson there. And later on that same drive, it's Jones hitting a wide open. Cedric, the touchdown maker, going in for the score. 7-zip, the Rancho Verde on top of Kaiser. This was in the opening frame. Later, it's hashtag the Green-Eyed Dragon. Keyshawn Slaughter running the ball here. Nice run for the Rancho Verde. And then it's Jones. Hello, Jones. He finds Peterson for another touchdown. Shakes his hand, goes in for the score, and that makes it 14-zip. The Rancho Verde on top. There's Sharon Jones keeping spirits high on the sideline, feeling good, keeping his team in this one. Kaiser quarterback, Raymond Padilla. Everybody loves Raymond. Trying to get his team back into this one. Padilla, big run here for the Kaiser Cats. And Kaiser would get a field goal out of it to get on the board, and they were trailing by a score of 14-3 in the second quarter. Later in the second frame, it's the Rancho Verde going to the Green-Eyed Dragon. Let's see. Can we go back to the other game? Let's see, here they come. All right, well, you know what? We'll just tell you that Rancho Verde won by final score. And let me pull out my brackets here. I got brackets like everybody else. 35-3. So the Rancho Verde is moving on. We will have these highlights again in the Saturday show. But let's come back here live in the studio. So the Rancho Verde advances past Kaiser. And the other half of the Central Division semifinals, it was Colony on the road at Heritage, a high-scoring game in this one. In the first half, not so much, of course, when we were there, but it was a high-scoring game. So, Mike, let's roll those highlights. Colony against Heritage, and the Patriots fired up for this one. They're trying to reach the championship game. And there's the real Coach Broach. We've got him here on our backdrop, and he just won't stay up here. I keep taping him up. That was Sione Taki coming up with the tackle, and here comes more Taki time, stuffing that Colony run here. But the Titans would drive down, and here they come with a long pass play. It would set up a field goal as Colony gets on the scoreboard first as they took a 3-zip lead, scoring that 3 on their opening drive of the ball game. So it's 3-zip. Heritage early hole, but they come back big time. Virgil 2.0 takes off on the run. Big run there, and then later on that same drive, Heritage giving the ball to Lima Haifo. I saw him before the game. He came up to me and said, "What's up, Uncle Pep?" I said, "It's all good. See you at a family Christmas party." And that was Haifo with a big run to the doorstep, and that would set up Taki. Now that's what I'm talking about. In for the touchdown. 7-3. Heritage takes the lead. And then Heritage with the ball later. Virgil rolling out, looking for the pass, but he is picked off by Colony. And the Titans get another field goal out of it to make it a 7-6 game. So now we go back to Heritage on offense. This time they give the ball to Haifo. Tough customer to bring down. Picks up a first down there. Later on that same drive, Virgil calling his own number once again. And Virgil is going to break off a big run. And that's Jeff Steinberg. We're going to hopefully hear from him a little bit later. Did it freeze up on us?
I think it did. I think it did. I think it did, unfortunately.
You gotta skip that. You might still be live, huh? Nope, it's still on Jeff, so I think you're still alive.
No, but I mean,
There we go.
I think we're good.
All right, so it's Rancho Verde taking on Heritage for the Central Division Championship. We still have some video coming in. We're trying to work all this out. But so, Mike, let's just go to those Central Division scoreboards, and we'll show people the scores from tonight. If the highlights don't make it in the live show, like always, please check back on Saturday for the Saturday scouting reports, and we'll have a lot more video in our big Saturday show. So let's go to that scoreboard now from the Central Division. Excuse me, the Rancho Verde defeating Kaiser 35-3 in a rematch of last year's CIF title game, and in the other side of the Central Division, Heritage over Colony 57-31, the final score. And now let's go to the brackets real quick, and we'll show people what it looks like now. It's Heritage taking on Rancho Verde, and since Heritage was home tonight and Rancho Verde played on the road at Kaiser, my math says that Rancho Verde will host Heritage next Friday for the Central Division Championship game. I believe the Central Division Championship game was played on a Saturday night last year, but we'll see what the schedule makers from the CIF say this time around. All right, back here live in the studio, we're going to have Norta Vista against San Gorgonio highlights for the Saturday show. And I can't wait to see them because, Pope, you were there. Norta Vista knocking off San Gorgonio by 1 point. Yeah. Was it a game-winning touchdown or a game-winning stop? How did this thing end?
Well, Norta Vista had trailed almost the entire game. They kept finding ways to score against San G, and then they got within 5 points in the fourth quarter. And on 3rd and 7, they decided to throw a halfback option pass out of nowhere. They hadn't run it. I hadn't seen it in 3 times they've played this season. It was DeAndre Castanon. He took the pitch from Headland, the quarterback, and he just heaved it into the corner of the end zone. 64 yards, the deepest throw of the game for anybody. And then Victor Gonzalez just jumps out of nowhere. He beats their San G's best defensive back up into the air and grabs it and hauls it in, just right inside the pylon. And it was a touchdown, and the crowd went crazy. And then Norte Vista really couldn't stop San G on their final drive. San G had about 2.5 minutes left to play. They were driving a little bit, but they doomed themselves with penalties big time. They had more than a dozen penalties in the game for over 100 yards. They just kept finding ways to get called for false starts. Ron Gehringer wasn't too happy with all the calls, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah. And then the drive stalled there at about midfield, and with just a bunch of incomplete passes from Tahir Rashid Mills.
So Novi's eventual game-winning touchdown sounds like about 2.5 minutes left. You said?
Yeah, 2:46 I think.
Wow.
On the clock. Yeah. So it just kind of came out of nowhere. I think everybody predicted San G to win this game. It's definitely an upset. Norte Vista, to their credit, they keep finding ways to win. They keep finding ways to push aside, all the things that have happened to them this postseason with the loss of the 7 league victories or the 7 season victories and the loss of the league title. So, hats off to them. They're doing a tremendous job of making the right call at the right time, obviously.
Now, San G, coming into the game, we talked a lot about their skill guys and, they're fast and play fast. But maybe we should give Novi more credit. I mean, they've got some, as you mentioned, Victor Gonzalez and DeAndre Castanon, Fred Hawley and Andrew Martinez. I mean, they've got a cast of stars as well. And
they're more a punch in the mouth kind of
physical
team.
Football,
where what San G has done all season is predicated on Tahir Rashid Mills. Norte Vista, they'll start up front with Fred Hawley, and then they'll punch you up the middle with Andrew Martinez, and then they'll take a couple shots downfield every so often with Victor Gonzalez. But they know what they do right, and they do it well, and they do it consistently, and that says something. To a team that wasn't able to be as consistent tonight as they'd like to have been, San G. They've typically been scoring 55-plus points. I think last week was the first week since week 5 that they hadn't scored more than 56 in a game. So they're one of the elite offenses in the inland area, and Norte Vista, found a way to stop them. Now, like I said, San G, they shot themselves in the foot with penalties, and early in the second half, they also had 2 fumbles on consecutive drives to turn the ball over. So, they did things to not help themselves, too. But Norte Vista, something's going right. Somebody's looking down on them, or somebody's, they just have it rolling right now. And, the feeling is that the game's going to be at Norte Vista. It will be the first championship game ever played at that stadium. Who's to say that Norte Vista can't pull this thing off? They're going to play Citrus Hill. Citrus Hill's defending champion. And I don't think that necessarily too many people think they'd get back to the championship game, but they have a real legitimate chance to win this game.
To win it, yeah. Well, you mentioned that Novi was able to slow down an elite offense like San Gorgonio. They will have to do something similar against Citrus Hill, who's loaded with skill position players. So sit tight, Pope. Yeah. Let's go to those highlights, Mike. The Citrus Hill taking on Moreno Valley. That was the other Eastern Division semifinal game. We'll take a look at those highlights, and then we'll talk to Pope more about his thoughts on the championship game. 33-zip at the half when I rolled in. And some of the Citrus Hill guys, they still got the bling. I mean, these guys are used to winning championships, playing for Hawks football, and Eric Zomald out there. And here's Brett Hollingsworth hooking up with DeJuan Dantzler here for a Citrus Hill touchdown. As you saw, it was already a big lead at the half. Hey, there's Akili Ross, the boss from Riverside Poly, checking out the game. He's saying, Pep, I really wish my Bears were playing this Friday. They lost to Colony the previous week. And here comes number 26, Devin Floyd. Hollingsworth finding him a couple times as the Hawks were driving down the field. They got deep into the red zone, and Hollingsworth will call his own number in this one. We talked about Tahir Rashid Mills being a great quarterback and run and throw. Brett Hollingsworth, another one of those guys with a big arm and can run as well. And Citrus Hill just pulling away from Moreno Valley in this game. The Vikings trying to show some signs of life, but the Hawks defense would not let up in this one. They wanted to preserve the shutout. They didn't get the shutout. They were still flying around all the way to the finish. And then here's Hollingsworth and Justin Clarkston. Great catch here. Comes down with it, hauls it in, and that would set up another Citrus Hill touchdown in the third quarter. It's Hollingsworth calling his own number, rolls out, rolls in for the touchdown. And Citrus Hill goes on to defeat Moreno Valley 60-10. Now, I picked Moreno Valley in the Pick'em show because I told their head coach, Ted Watkins, I would when he came onto the Blitz, and I'm a man of my word, even though I thought Citrus Hill would win, and I just didn't know that they were going to win by 50 points. So, Mike, let's come back here live in the studio, and 60-10, I mean, wow. Citrus Hill putting 60 points on a team that held Serrano the previous week to only 7, and Serrano's used to scoring a lot of points. I mean, impressed by that score?
Yeah, absolutely. Who knew that Brett Hollingsworth would come in and be better than Trevor Hodge, who was my player of the year for the Inland area this year. Trevor Hodge now is at Iowa State. I think he's playing so much right now, but he was a dual-threat quarterback, unlike the Inland area has seen up to the season. Hollingsworth was for 8 touchdowns tonight and 500 passing yards. That's unbelievable. That's unreal. So, Eric Zomalt at Citrus Hill, he's a former NFL player. He knows how to do it. He knows how to cultivate offenses. So, I don't think Citrus Hill is an underdog in this championship game, that's for sure. I think Norte Vista is without a doubt the underdog. They're going to be playing at home, and they got everything on their side right now. So, who knows what could happen. A key injury perhaps or something wacky happens to Citrus Hill, and, they get in their own heads and, tables turn. But, on paper, you got to think Citrus Hill is at least a 2-touchdown favorite in this game.
Defending champions, loaded on offense, and they can get it done on defense. Well, let me put you on the spot. I don't know how well versed you are in Citrus Hill or San Gorgonio, but similarities. I mean, they both score a lot of points. They both have some of the top skill position players around. I mean, do you see a similar situation for Norte Vista coming off that San G game?
How do they keep doing it? That's the question. What is going to happen to Citrus Hill, or what's Norte Vista going to do, to make it a close game so that they can find a way to win at the end? Because if Citrus Hill gets out to a multiple touchdown lead, you got to think that it's going to be a hard day for Norte Vista. Tonight against San G, they never got farther than about 10 points, so it was always within a 2-possession game. I think if it gets outside of that for Norte Vista, they're going to be in trouble.
All right, Dennis Pope, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Pep.
Mike, let's go to those Eastern Division scores, and we'll put the scores up on the screen so people can see, and then we'll update the brackets for them as well. So the 2 Eastern Division semifinals tonight, Norte Vista winning by 1, 38-37 on the halfback pass. Who knew? Braves break out the trick play there, and they beat the undefeated team San Gorgonio, and Citrus Hill defeating Moreno Valley 60-10. The Hawks soaring right now heading into that final against Norte Vista. So let's go to the Eastern Division bracket, and there it is, Norte Vista and Citrus Hill. And I saw Citrus Hill Athletic Director Rich Shearer at the Citrus Hill game, and he said regardless of who won, Novi or San G, that they would the winner of that game would host. So Norte Vista won, so Norte Vista will host. Citrus Hill hits the road, so the Hawks will have to defend their title on the road at Norte Vista. All right, before we go, let's go to the Eastern Division now, and or East Valley, I'm sorry, and Adam Drexler doing a great job to get the highlights on Jurupa Hills taking on Western Christian tonight in the East Valley Division semifinals. And let's check out these highlights together for the first time. And nice little field there, right, Drex? Yeah. Well, Western Christian quarterback Brad Hargis finding Cameron Beck there. Western Christian led 33-26. Now in the fourth quarter, Western Christian with the goal line stop against Jurupa Hills. So later in this game, Jurupa Hills Christian Steele back to field the punt. How about the house call? Steele takes it back for the touchdown. That ties the game at 33 apiece. But this game was far from over. Western Christian quarterback Hargis, 11 yards to Lee Oren here. The 2-point conversion, no good. So it's 39-33 Western Christian. Jurupa Hills now the ball. DJ Wright picked off here by Hargis, but Western Christian would not score on the ensuing drive. Now we go to 7 seconds left. Wright to Corday Roberts. That ties the game, and then Jurupa Hills would kick the extra point right there, and that is your game-winning point following the touchdown as Jurupa Hills defeats Western Christian by a final score of 40-39. Incredible win for Jurupa Hills, and congratulations to the Spartans as they advance to the CIF East Valley Division Championship game. All right, Mike, let's go to the East Valley Division scores now, the scoreboard. And we can tell you that Jurupa Hills, the 1-point winner, is moving on. And in the other semifinal, it was Big Bear playing on the road at St. Margaret's, which is in San Juan Capistrano, and Big Bear coming up short in overtime. 35-28, St. Margaret's wins in overtime. So let's go to the bracket now in the East Valley Division. It's Jurupa Hills and St. Margaret's. St. Margaret's at home tonight. Jurupa Hills played on the road, so Jurupa Hills will host the CIF East Valley Division Championship game. All right, back here live in the studio, we've got a lot more video and highlights we'll be cranking out throughout the night and getting them ready for the big Saturday show. So if you didn't see your game tonight, including the San Gorgonio taking on Norte Vista, we've got more from Centennial and Upland, and so there's some more video highlights we will be adding, so some new stuff coming up for the big Saturday football show. So please join us on HSGameTime then. And then, of course, next Wednesday we have the Blitz as we will preview the CIF championship games along with our guest analyst, Murrieta Valley head coach Vinny Fazio. From everyone here at HSGameTime, we appreciate you watching each and every Friday night, and we will do it again next Friday as we'll have championship highlights from the CIF football playoffs. We'll see you next Friday night on HSGameTime.